Hey, what's up guys? My name is Frosty Infernape, and today I'll be doing my first Zelda video on my channel. If you saw my channel update video from a couple days ago, you would know that I'm going to start doing Zelda and Pokemon content. But with that out of the way, let's start this video, and let's talk about what I want to see in the sequel to Breath of the Wild. The first thing I want to see in the sequel to Breath of the Wild is the world. Breath of the Wild had an amazing, vast, and open world, and it was great. I loved exploring and finding new things every single time I played. Now, of course, I don't want the same world, because we already played through that world. I want a world like it, that's open world, but it's not the exact same Hyrule we played in. I saw this theory that maybe it takes place underground of Hyrule, and I think no matter where it takes place, it'll be cool as long as it's another open world with a vast exploration. The next thing I really want in Breath of the Wild 2 is a more emphasis on story. I want an expansion to the current story, and I also want to know what happened between the fight between Calamity Ganon and Link 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was great, and the story was great, but there wasn't a whole lot of story there. See, I think people say there wasn't a lot of story there, but I think there was a good amount of story there, but it wasn't enough to satisfy me. So I'm really excited to see what they do with the story and how they expand upon Breath of the Wild. The next thing I want to see in Breath of the Wild is better dungeons. Not more dungeons, but better dungeons. See, I think dungeons are fine, and I like dungeons that are made well, but the Divine Beasts were kind of they weren't that great. And see, I don't love Zelda dungeons, but I don't hate them. I'm kind of indifferent with them. To me, they're just kind of there. Some dungeons are great, don't get me wrong, but I think if we have a low number of really good, high quality, and fun dungeons, that would be perfect. But like I said, I don't want too big of an emphasis on dungeons, because I found in Zelda games that have a lot more dungeons and dungeons that you need to do to progress through the game, they become more linear, and the games don't allow for a lot more exploration, like Ocarina of Time. Like, Ocarina of Time is great, there's a lot of dungeons, but because of that, you just kind of have to go dungeon after dungeon after dungeon to progress through the game, and there's not a lot of exploration you can do. So I think if they can find a balance between making good dungeons and keeping the game an open world game with lots of exploration, that would be perfect. The last thing I want to see in Breath of the Wild 2 is more memorable characters. Breath of the Wild was great, but it only had 2 memorable characters, 3 if you include Link. It had Ganon, Calamity Ganon, and Dark Beast Ganon, just Ganon overall in Zelda. There weren't many other memorable characters. Now maybe you could say Kilton, but he's not really there as much. Because in my opinion, the most memorable characters were probably the champions and Kilton. But the champions weren't there much, and like I said, Kilton wasn't there much. Plus, you'd have to do like the side quest to get Kilton. So I don't think everybody's, seen him, but he's the most interesting character in my opinion. I am very excited for Breath of the Wild 2, and I really hope the things I talked about will be in this game. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Frosty Infernape. Subscribe if you're new for Zelda and Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.